Hey, what's up YouTube? Andy here, that huge Asian guy. So today I'm going to just answer some questions that I get asked. So kind of start a series, or not really a series, but I'll do vids of where I answer questions more in depth than I could answer like on Instagram or whatever. So first one's pretty simple. I get asked all the time what shoes I'm wearing for whatever lift I'm doing. So for the most part, I use a flat shoe, usually Atomics or like wrestling shoes when I lift weights, whether it's powerlifting or just bodybuilding specific, or a combination. And especially when I deadlift, I like to wear flats. Occasionally I'll wear like Metcons or Chucks and all that, but it just depends on my outfit that day. But specifically on squats, I use, when I'm doing my low bar, technically I don't really low bar, it's not that low. It's probably only 2 inches down from my high bar. That's just because I've squatted for 16 straight years doing high bar since high school, since football days, and I've only been powerlifting for about a year and a half. So to switch down to low bar, I've tried many times during off season, but it just never was comfortable enough to get that low, and it would just change my squat stance and technique way too much. So I just lower it a little bit. So when I'm in like a competition squat, I use the Adidas Power lifts. So they're the cheaper kind, not like the I can't remember what the name of the higher, the more expensive ones, but they're like, I don't know, $60 to $90 most of the time. And I use those because of the height of the lift in the heel. I have the Nike whatever, Leos. I've had the 2s, and I've had them for a couple years, but they just tip me too far forward when I do my competition squat. They tip me too far forward because the heel is so high. It makes me only sit on my heel. Like when I put pressure on my feet, I feel it more in my heels too much. I can barely get it down to my toes where I can push off there too. So when that happens, you're not pushing off your big toe and your quads, then you're just pushing off your heels, and that makes my butt shoot up and I tip forward. So I switched down to the Adidas, and they're just the right amount. It's like 0.66 of an inch or 0.6, and the Nikes are 0.7, so 3/4 of an inch. So that little adjustment makes a big difference for my legs, for my technique. And the Adidas are they're not as great, as well made. They don't last very long. So I probably go through like 3 pair a year, but in the long run, it's very important to me. Spending a couple $100 on shoes to have my squat be as efficient as it can is definitely worth it for me. So that's the shoes I wear for squat. And then when I'm doing high bar or other squats, front squats, safety squat bar squats, I will use the Nikes. And those, my stance comes in a little bit, and it's more of a narrow stance, and I can use my toes a lot more, or my quads a lot more. So that's what I use for shoes. And then benching, I kind of just, it doesn't really matter what shoes I wear. I don't use that much of an arch or a leg drive. Working on that, but as far as the shoe attire, it doesn't really matter. Just anything that doesn't slip. And then deadlifting, it's always been either wrestling shoes or Atomics. And Atomics, I've always loved them, even before I powerlifted. They're originally like a powerlifting or bodybuilding brand. They've been around for, I don't know, 20 plus years. And I've tried the Rider Wears, if you've guys seen them around, and they look good, but they don't last. They really stretch out over time, like really fast. So I'll start with the size that fits me, but in like a month or two, they're already stretched out and very loose. And so I think the material, the quality is just a little too whatever, stretchy, and it doesn't last as long. But so definitely recommend Atomics. I do have a code for it. It's Andy25, I think. But sometimes it doesn't work. It's very weird. But regardless, I suggest you guys go with Atomics or wrestling shoes for deadlifting because you want, you know, as little distance between your feet and the floor as possible, because any additional distance is just a deficit for you, because more distance you have to pull. And you know, a quarter of an inch is a big deal on the deadlift. So the chucks, they're just a little thick. I don't use them too much. But you know, if you can't afford Atomics, they're like $140. Then I have like also like $50, $60 wrestling shoes that have lasted me for years. I still wear them. So those are your options for leg wear, feet wear. Sorry. All right, so next question is, people want to know about my background, like growing up, like what sports I did and all that stuff. So, I was actually born in Taiwan. So then I moved to California, San Diego, when I was 6, and I didn't play any sports until I was in 5th grade, where I tried out for Pop Warner, but I weighed too much. I can remember distinctly, I was 132 pounds, and I think the cutoff was like low 120s. So I was over, and then I was also too young to play up, because they have rules about that too. So, you know, I have a August birthday, so I'm behind as far as age and birthday and all that for all those little kids sports cutoffs and all that. So I didn't get to play football, so I ventured into basketball somehow, and I loved it. It was probably my first passion, my first love. Played it all through middle school, and actually hit a growth spurt in 6th grade, and I was up to like 5'9" by the time I was in 8th grade, heading into high school. So I love basketball. I played on all these travel teams. We were really pretty good for a bunch of suburban white kids, 90% of my team, and we'd always, you know, go up to like LA and battle with all these huge, tall black guys and black kids, sorry, and you know, they got kids dunking 6th grade, 7th grade. It was just remarkable to see. So I love basketball. I didn't get into football until freshman year, when I was finally able to play without, you know, any restrictions like that. And that's when I first started lifting weights. And I was already 180 pounds as a freshman, or heading into freshman year. And just a combination of lifting weights and just eating a lot more, I guess, hitting puberty, all that, I gained about 40 pounds by the end of freshman year. And you know, I love football, so football, by the time I got to high school, I was playing football, then basketball, and then track and field. I just threw the shot put and discus. I was pretty good at the shot, I sucked at the discus. And then by the time I was a junior, I gave up basketball just because I'm a 5'10" Asian guy, and the height doesn't help. Lack of height, you know. But I could shoot threes, and that's all I was pretty much good for. I'd bomb it from like 4 feet behind the line. And I wanted to focus on football, because I was really excelling in that, and my coach just said if I, you know, worked hard at it, I would be able to get, you know, scholarships. So I really dedicated myself to football and took that seriously, and I even, you know, kind of not swore off track, but I do it here and there because the track coach begged me, but I'd only get to it whenever I can, where if like football off-season workouts didn't interfere. So by junior year, heading into junior year, I was already 265. I played D-tackle, and then by senior year I was 290. And I was, you know, all conference, all state player of the year, all that jazz. And I had many scholarship offers, but they were to their like 1AA schools, or whatever they're called now, not Division I. Just because I'm 5'10", Asian, just don't have the, you know, the measurables that, you know, big colleges want. So, I mean, I was really quick. I had like a 36-inch vertical at 290. My 40 was 5 flat. So it was very explosive. And all the basketball helped me with that. Playing all those years, jumping, and helped with my lateral and my quickness and all that. And then in high school, I maxed out at, I squatted 5, bench like, I wasn't a good bencher back then anyways. I was like, I don't know, 335, 365 maybe. And then we actually never deadlifted until like we adapted bigger, faster, stronger program, but that was after my senior season. And so they were teaching it to the younger kids, and I just happened to just sit in on it, and they made me deadlift. And so I've never deadlifted to this point. So first time I ever deadlift, I hit 500 pounds. So that goes to show, like, as a beginner, whatever you do, just work hard and just progressively get stronger at every lift you can. Don't be locked into just the big three. You know, everything you do, every exercise you do as a beginner will help build strength overall. And my deadlift is a perfect example. I only squatted and did some cleans and benching and dumbbell work and, you know, typical football stuff, but I never deadlifted. So, but you develop all the other muscles, all the muscles required to deadlift, doing all these other things. So even though my form was atrocious or whatever, I never practiced that movement, you're still have to use your back and your legs and your arms and all that for deadlift, and, you know, doing all the other exercises before that helped out. So yeah, I just want to drive that point home. And, you know, after high school I got into a small D1 AA school in Sacramento called Sacramento State, and I didn't like that. After the first year I hated it there, so I came back and played junior college at Palomar College. There I was all-state, yeah, I guess, all-state for 1 year, and then I got a scholarship offer to be Brigham Young University, BYU. So, you know, I'll stop there just so I can keep this short. But so what I want to also point out is, yes, genetics has a huge role to how strong you'll be. And at the time in high school, yeah, I was one of the strongest in the country already. But you'll never know how strong you'll be until you go after something with everything you got, and persist. You know, don't just try for a couple weeks, don't try for a couple months. I would say you have to give something 4 to 6 months minimal to see if you really have any potential in it. And you have to compete, and you have to just go with it. Give it your all, just to say that you've tried it 100% before you knock it and say, oh, powerlifting's not for me, or whatever's not for me, you know, whatever program's not for me, all that. Anything you take on, just go through a reasonable amount of time, you know, trying it, not jumping around, all this stuff. Just give it a shot. And if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, then you can say I tried it and then move on. So in high school, yeah, I was strong, and then after football, I just kind of was in a lull. I just didn't know what to do anymore. So I would just lift the way I would lift in high school. A lot of football type workouts, and then, you know, as I started to get into lifting for looks, and I lost a lot of weight after college, then I added in bodybuilding stuff. So for probably from 20 to 30, 29, for 10 years almost, we'll say, I was just doing like football / bodybuilding workouts, which kind of translates well into just powerlifting, because I was still doing some heavier work with the squats and bench. I still haven't deadlifted consistently. I just didn't want to do it. I wasn't very good at it. And then all the bodybuilding stuff. So, the bottom line is, yeah, I was strong when I started lifting weights, and I do have a advantage as far as genetics to be stronger and be bigger, obviously, because I was 290 in high school, and of course all natural because I'm a teenager. But I don't think I would be this strong now, or got as strong as I have in powerlifting without all the base that I've gone through for 15 years. You know, I lifted consistently and heavy and all the time for 15 years before I even started powerlifting. So you have to put in the work no matter what, no matter your genetics, whatever. It only gets you so far. So that's the message I want to give, and that's the question. Sorry, that takes care of that question. So, next question.